have the silliest song in my head, and it's, if you guys are TikTok people, you know, like the bongo la, bongo cha cha cha. That's what I got going on in my head today while I wait for the live to start. Here we are. Welcome, welcome. Happy Friday, or whatever day it is that you are watching this topic. I was going to say live again, but you know, we're trying to repeat ourselves. Anyway, I'm here with a very exciting topic, and to say I have been excited all week would be an understatement. I have been excited since Monday because, and I feel like I say this every time, this is like one of my favorite topics to discuss, and it's an important one, and I feel like it is one that each and every one of us has within us. It's just whether or not we are tapped into it. So let's discuss it. We're talking all things intuition today. That is why you are here. If this resonated, it's probably for one of two reasons. One, you want to sharpen your intuition, or two, your intuition has been hiding for far too long and you are ready to uncover it. So just like that, we are off to the races again. As always, I highly encourage any questions you might have, drop them in the comments, say hi. Let me know if you're watching live, if you're watching the replay. Either or is fine with me, as you know. And as I say all these things, I'm struggling to get my notes up. I don't know. I'm clicking every tab except the one I need. So let's get to it. We do have a couple of questions from the community. Both Shannon and Nettie had questions. I will answer those at the end and add to it anything we might not have answered throughout the live. So this one actually came, interestingly enough, the topic of intuition came while we were talking about shadow work last week, and I was talking a lot about intuition at that point, and I intuitively intuited that we should next talk about intuition. And you as a community agreed, so that is why we are talking about this. And interestingly enough, a lot of the topics that I come up with here for the live are a combination of two things. Number one, based on when each of you joined this group, there were a number of questions you had to answer, one of which was your challenges. So I either base my lives off challenges or I intuit what the lives should be. I wait for them to download into my brain, listen to my gut instincts to decide whether or not this is an appropriate topic to cover. And this is one of those topics, and it's highly appropriate. We've been talking about intuition all week. Thank you for engaging with the questions, the fill in the blanks. I love seeing everybody engaged in the community. It brings me so much joy and happiness, and I love hearing each and every one of your stories. So thank you so much for that. And this particular topic, I want you to know, as I said right at the beginning, you're probably joining this for one of two reasons. Either you know you have an intuition that is strong, or it's hiding, right? But each and every one of us has the ability to tap into our inner knowing, our intuition that can guide us. It's literally like our soul's GPS system. It's built in. There's no getting away from it. There's no getting rid of it. It's always been there. It's just whether or not you are aware of it. So keep that in mind. If you feel like you don't have it at all, trust me, you do. And I'm about to help you uncover it. Even men have the ability to be intuitive, but we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through today's live. So I want to know why you're here. You're probably here because you feel as though you should be listening to your intuition, even though I hate that word, should. You might feel like, hey, I know this is within me. You feel a sense, you feel a calling, but you have no idea how to get there. You might be someone that often has like messages pop into your mind. I like to call them pings, or I guess the spirituality or the self-help world calls them pings. They're these things that just show up in your brain and you're like, whoa, I gotta follow that. And you're not really sure what that is or why, or whether or not you should listen, trust and listen. You know that even though you know you have intuition, you're not sure how it speaks to you, because it speaks to everybody differently. Each and every one of us has a different way of hearing things or intuiting things, or our body speaking to us. So that could be why you're joining us today. You've made a decision to try and tap into this gift, and I truly believe it is a gift. And depending on your upbringing, some people have been led to believe that your intuition isn't something you should be trusting, that you should trust in a greater source, a greater power. But truly, having your intuition be a part of you is a tremendous gift, and you've made the decision that you're like, yes, I'm ready. I am ready to reconnect to my heart, to my soul, connect to my body, and I want to start using my intuition in a bigger way. And this could be stemming from the fact that in the past you've made a decision. Maybe you made a decision and everything in your body, like you had that sick feeling in your stomach, you felt icky, but you made the decision to proceed anyways, and it didn't pan out quite the way you thought it would. And you were like, why didn't I listen to me? Why didn't I listen to myself? Maybe you're joining us for that reason, because you've made too many of those decisions and you haven't listened to that internal guidance system. You are ready to embrace the gift. That is kind of all of my last pieces of the puzzle put together, and I think I've already said that, but I'm excited, so I'm probably going to repeat myself. So let's get this started with a bit of a definition of intuition. I took it from like kind of 3 different places because I want you to see that they're all sort of saying the same thing but in different ways. So Merriam-Webster says the power or faculty of attaining to direct knowledge or cognition without evident rational thought and interference, which is quick and ready insight. Oxford says intuition is the ability to know something by using your feelings rather than considering facts. An idea or a strong feeling that something is true, but you cannot explain why. And psychology today defines intuition as a form of knowledge that appears in consciousness without obvious deliberation. It arrives holistically and quickly without awareness. So these are all very different ways of saying the same thing, but essentially what your intuition is something coming into your mind, something coming out of your unconscious into your subconscious and alerting you as to how to proceed in a specific instance. It could be that you have, and I know Nettie shared this actually, one of our community members shared this in one of the questions I asked about intuition, where she had this gut feeling that there was something wrong with her dad. So she was like, I need to go and deal with that right now. I need to go and see what's wrong. It's not like she talked to him on the phone. It's not like something happened specifically. It was just this gut feeling. And it turns out she was right. So these intuitive senses are going to come out of nowhere, it will seem. And you have the decision to, okay, am I going to proceed? Am I going to follow it? Or am I going to ignore it? Right? So it's our ability to know without fact. Like in Nettie's instance, she didn't know for certain that something was wrong. She just simply felt. There was no facts to suggest that. There was no phone call. There was no notification. It was just within her deeply. She knew something was wrong and she had to tend to it. And I've had lots of this in my own personal life. I'm sure if you kind of examine your life holistically, you too will have instances of this where something just came to you and you're like, wait a minute, there's no logic. There's no reason behind this. I have no facts, but I know I have to do this thing because everything within me is telling me to do it. And if that's the case, if you followed that gut instinct, even without those facts and without that knowledge, you were probably like, oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness, because had I not come here, had I not done this, maybe there could have been a different outcome than what there was, right? And for me, I know personally, I'm the type of person that I just, like, things just pop into my brain. I just, like, know things. And this happens a lot where I'll be, thinking about a certain song a lot. This can be intuition speaking to you too, where I'll have a song in my head and I just know there's a message there, and then I kind of like analyze it and figure it out. It's there. It just presents itself. And it oftentimes comes out of nowhere. And if you're not used to this, it could be a little bit fearful. It could be a little bit scary because you're like, okay, I don't know why I feel this way, but I feel like I have to do X, Y, Z, right? And funnily enough, as we've gone through school, as we've gone through our lives, we have been taught over and over and over again that we should not really rely on our emotion or our intuition, but we should stay strategic. We should be logical. We should, do analysis. We should wait for facts. We should wait for reason. And that's been taught to us from the time we're really, really little. Like, you have no facts, that there's no reason for that, there's no, so we've been taught to kind of shut out our intuition and not rely on those emotions, not rely on how it talks to us when making decisions, which really and truly, I wish they taught that in school. There should be a whole segment on intuition for kids in school so that they know that they have this guidance system within them that can help them to make decisions. It's not necessarily, like, in some cases you might make all of your decisions based on intuition, but for a lot of us it's going to be a blend of what we know, what just presents itself, what shows itself, and logic and reason, right? But a lot of us don't know that this is there, and that just makes me so sad. And believe me, friends, I ignored my intuition for so long. It was like ding, 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 trying to talk to me. And I was like, no, 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 no. Let me put my blinders on. I don't want to hear that. But it is there for a reason. It is there to support you and help you. And intuition's like across all cultures. It has a really, really rich history in every single religion, you name it. There's some form of intuition within the spiritual world, whether it's religion or philosophy or psychology. There is this aspect of intuition within it, whether for or against it. But regardless, everyone's kind of talked about it in one way or another. And it's been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. I was actually reading facts about like an interesting fact, and I'm gonna try and remember all of this, but it was around Abraham Lincoln, funnily enough. There was supposed to be somebody else with Abraham Lincoln the day he was assassinated at the movie theater, but that person's wife said to him, I don't know why, but you shouldn't go. I don't know what it is, but I just got this gut feeling that you shouldn't go. Thank goodness that person listened, because had he been there, he too could have lost his life the same way Abraham Lincoln did. So that's just like a small example in history. It goes back way, way, way further than that. But I thought that was really interesting as I was doing my research about the history of intuition, that was there. So it's been long standing, and we are meant to tap into it. Yes, I'm talking to you, are meant to tap into it. So to be able to understand it, I wanted us to have a little bit of an idea around the science of intuition. Holy cannoli. Talk about a sign. It just started, like the sun just started shining through my window as I was talking about this. I love when that happens. Anyways, let's talk about the science behind intuition and where it lives in the brain. So we all know that you have a right hemisphere and you have a left hemisphere. If I gotta think about this. I'm left-handed, I'm right-brained. Okay, so if your left hemisphere is where your analytics lies. It's responsible for logic, reason, critical thinking, things like that. The right side of the brain is your more imaginative side, arts, creativity, music, emotions, etc. So if the right side of our brain is in charge of or responsible for emotions, it only makes sense that this is where the intuition side is going to house itself. This is where it lives. And it has actually been discovered through brain studies and autopsies that the female brain has a stronger connection between right and left hemispheres, which I found wildly interesting. And this is going to tie into women's intuition specifically, which we're going to talk about later here in the live. But when people have done autopsies on the female brain, there's actually nerves that connect the right and left hemisphere. So that cluster of nerves is actually thicker, stronger, and has a better ability of speaking between the right and the left hemisphere of the brain. So what that means for women, not only are they tapped more into their emotions, which means they're going to be tapped more into their intuition, they can actually vocalize it using their ability to logic and reason and speak with their left hemisphere. So I found that really, really interesting. So obviously here we all identify as women within this group. So as a woman, you naturally now know, if you didn't before, scientifically speaking, your intuition is stronger than you think. So what this means is that you have to really pay attention to your gut, literally. And I know that sounds funny, but there are tons of chemicals in our gut, which is part of the scientific piece, that actually can send us signals. For example, if you're getting like butterflies in your stomach, that could be a sign that your intuition is talking to you. If something feels really deeply off within your belly, maybe you have an invitation to do something. If you feel a sick, queasy feeling right within your gut, that is your intuition talking to you in a very, very big way. And alternatively, it could be, if you meet somebody and it's light and airy and you don't feel any of that negativity or ickiness in your tummy, again, that's your intuition giving you the go ahead, right? But the gut itself is literally been deemed the second brain, scientifically speaking. So if that is the case, we now have proof that intuition can be strengthened and can be relied on in order to make decisions within our life and in order to move about and navigate all of our journeys. So another way that you can do this from the scientific perspective is monitor your energy level, because this is going to work the same as your gut. If you meet somebody for the first time, and let me know in the comments if this has happened to you, you meet somebody you've never met them before. Hi, I'm Denise. Hi, I'm Jim. Hi, I'm Sandy. And you get this like, it feels like all your energy has been sucked away, or you feel instantly tired or drained. That is a good indication that your intuition is telling you that this might be someone you have to be a little bit mindful of, right? And alternatively, if you meet someone and they fuel your energy, you feel uplifted, you feel positive, that's another way of getting the big old thumbs up from the intuition. So paying attention to your gut and being mindful of your energy level around people are two amazing ways to start to get to know and building a relationship with your intuition, right? And I wrote a note here. It literally says, sadly, society frowns upon using the intuition or gut to make decisions, favoring instead that of logic and reasoning. I've had countless experience with this, and probably all of you have as well too, where I have said I'm making a decision based on my gut instinct. And that's because I've built a really strong relationship with my intuition. And people look at me like I'm an alien. Like, what do you mean you're using your intuition? And I'm just like, and the number of debates I've had to have with people, especially lately, you know, and I've just had to say, like, listen, my intuition is telling me I need to hold on right now. Well, there's no facts, there's no proof. People are going to say these things to you because they have been trained to rely on logic and reasoning. So don't let that deter you from trusting that instinct. So that's just a bit of a caveat, right? And it's all about, I think, finding balance, you know, especially if you're just starting to dabble in this world of intuition and strengthening it, building the relationship with it. You might need to just start slowly. Pay attention to what your logic and reasoning says, but also pay attention to what your intuition is saying. Kind of like, are they on the same page? Are they two different pages? If they're on two different pages, if your logic is telling you, yeah, go ahead, but your gut's saying, no, don't do it, kind of analyze that and understand why. Look into it and kind of uncover what some of the reasons might be that these two things are out of balance, you know? And then of course, if you proceed and you're not listening to your intuition, what was the outcome? Was it favorable, or was it, you know, an outcome that you didn't really expect or you didn't really like? So really start small and compare the two, especially if you're just getting into this, right? Weigh them against each other. I felt like I need to say that because it was highlighted in green, so obviously it's important for me to tell you. So we talked a little bit about the women's intuition being stronger than them, having the ability to be stronger than men. So let's talk about this a little bit more. Let's talk about why. I want to refer back to evolution. Evolutionarily. You know what I mean. Anyways, every time I have a word slip up, but that's okay. We're all human beings, especially me. So I always say women's intuition has always been frowned upon. Like, it's got like kind of like a negative connotation, like, oh, it's just women's intuition, or she's so emotional, you know? And I want to break it down and let you know that this is heavily rooted in patriarchal way of thinking, where men are superior to women, men are logical, men are reasonable, they use their, you know, they're using the left side of their brain all the time, they can make decisions that are based on fact, and women are so emotional, they're over here using, you know, their right side of the brain, right? So it's rooted in patriarchal ideology, which suggests that men are stronger than women. And if that's the case, this intuitive side has been discounted or disregarded for so long. And it's also too has a lot to do with, and I found this fascinating, but it makes sense, that women were to be seen and not heard. So women were natural observers. They were in their environment. They had to observe everything that was going on. They had to take their cues from people, from their body language. They had to rely on reading emotion. They really had nothing else to rely on except their intuitive sense. You know, and this is especially true when it comes to raising offspring. You know, they had to use their intuition to know what their child needs. And if you are a parent, I am not personally, but you'll have to let me know. If you were a parent, a mom especially maybe, you're really in tune with what your child needs without even really, like, that child can't speak to you. It can't tell you, I'm hungry, I need to change, any of that stuff. You're relying on your intuition in your interactions with your child, right? So, and this makes you more compassionate, more empathetic, and that's why women have such a strong ability to use their intuition as well. They have higher ability to be compassionate, higher empathy. It's stronger, and it's because we've had to rely on this for so long. That was how we navigated the world long before we had rights or we could vote or we were seen as, an equal sex compared to men. We had to rely on this so heavily, which is why A, it gets a bad rap, and B, why we are so much better at intuiting than men are. That, and the sad part, this makes me so upset, is a man will probably be made fun of if he taps into his intuition, because they'll look at it and think, oh, it's because he's emotional, blah, 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 which just hurts my heart, because they have just as much of a capacity to be intuitive and to use that in order to make decisions, but they will hide that away because they don't want to be looked at as girly or too emotional or anything like that, which is, I hope that changes. I really and truly hope it does, but it's one of those things that it's using your intuition. People like, ugh, what do you mean? And I really want to revolutionize intuition and bring it back to the mainstream, because it is powerful. You are powerful and you are intuitive. So I have a little quote here from Sir Albert Einstein. I know he's not a sir actually, but you get my meaning. It says here that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. I have full body chills. Hopefully you do too, just hearing me say that. But how amazing that and funnily enough, Albert Einstein, when they did an autopsy on his brain, remember those nerves that connect the right and left hemisphere? He was found to have his brain mimicked more of a female brain, in the sense that he had a stronger nerve connection between his hemispheres, similar to what women have that we talked about earlier. So how fascinating is that? So he really had this sharp ability to be intuitive and recognize the gift in it. So you want to probably know some of the benefits of strengthening your intuition. And there are tons of them. This is only a few. I could go on for days and days and days. But I don't know that you would want to attend a 3-day live. Maybe you would. I could come up with something to talk about. Anyways, number one, first and foremost, is increase confidence in your ability to trust your intuition. Increase confidence in knowing that if it is speaking to you, you can say, okay, I'm going to follow this. And you're not thinking about anything else. You're not thinking with your logic side of your brain. You're going full steam ahead, and you know that intuition is sharp and it's not going to lead you astray. Number two, pride in the gift. Pride in the gift you have that is your intuition. No longer having to hide it, no longer feeling shame around it, no longer feeling like you can't boldly and proudly say, I trusted my gut in this and it served me well. You are okay with being an emotional person that has a strong sense of intuition. Number three, ability to live more creatively. Because remember, our intuition lives in the right hemisphere, which is also the home of our creativity, our artistry. So when we start tapping into that right brain, when we start focusing and relying on that intuition, it's going to unlock a world of other things. You're going to have increased creativity. You're going to have increased artistry. You're naturally going to open up this side of your brain, especially if you're right-handed, because as we know, if you're right-handed, you're more left-brained. If you're left-handed, you're more right-brained. So you're going to tap into a world of other gifts, which is, who knows where that could take you, where that could bring you. You never know. Number four, a deep shift in perspective. You have the ability to look at things from different angles. No longer are you relying on one way of making decisions. I'm going to wait for logic and reason and facts. If you do this, that is okay, by the way. But it gives you another way to look at things. If you're weighing the odds, weighing logic to intuition, it gives you pause to be able to look at things from different perspective and maybe perhaps make different decisions. And what is very interesting about this is, even within the corporate world, big business men and women alike, especially men more now, which is funny because as I was doing my research, they're really pushing this, that you should rely more on your gut. Steve Jobs was one of them. He used his intuition like crazy when he was developing Apple. So people are doing this out in the world in big corporations of both sexes to make big decisions, to using their gut. Yes, here are the facts, here they are right here for you, but they're going to go based on gut instinct, and it has served them well, right? Which leads me into number five, decision making becomes easier. And if you are a person that has difficulty making decisions, and if you do, you know who you are, because you will probably tell people, I have a really hard time making decisions. If you sharpen that intuition, if you sharpen that gut instinct, you will be able to have another system on which to rely on. So it actually makes your decision making become easier, which is going to be less stressful for you, because if you were an indecisive person, you know the stress of making decisions and what it can do to your body. So intuition gives you another option to feel good about and to forge ahead with whatever decision it is you choose to make. Decrease in racing thoughts, because your logic and reason is housed in the brain, right? Whereas your intuition is more of a guttural emotional response. So the logic and reasoning part is going to have you just like racing your head, like zzz, and if you have a busy brain, you know what I'm talking about. So if we're relying more on our intuition, we don't have to have that busy brain anymore, right? So we can calm and soothe the racing thoughts that are in our head trying to have us make a decision, and we can rely more on the emotion, on the guttural response. So it can really help to ease those racing thoughts. And you organically become more mindful. Number 6, because you have to in order to hear your intuition to begin with, you need to be really mindful and within the body and listening to the body. So you'll naturally increase your ability to be mindful, because you have to really tune in to be able to even hear or know what your intuition is and what it sounds like. So let's talk a little bit about how to do it, how to strengthen your intuition. So, and as a caveat, and I mentioned this earlier, everyone's intuition speaks to them in a very, very different way. Some people, it's a gut response. Some people have to wait for a wave of emotion. Some people, it talks to them so silently and they'll get like an instant like ding. And if they don't listen to it, if they're not attuned to that sound, to that message, it's going to pass them by, right? So be wary and tune into your own body to determine how your intuition speaks to you and what that physically looks like through the process of being mindful. So some of the tips I'm going to give you are going to work better for some than they are to others, but that's the fun of it. Have fun with this. It's meant to be fun, sharpening your intuition. This is different from, doing shadow work and all of those things are really important, but this part's actually fun. You actually get to really tune into your body and begin to trust the messages you're hearing from yourself far more than some of this other deep work that you do in a therapeutic journey. This one's fun. So treat it as an experiment, be a detective, and really, really dig deep to see how this works for you. And, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. I'll have a glass of water while I get it back. How cute is this little cup with the, I was going to say frogs. These are turtles. It says leap of faith on the inside. I don't know if you can see that, but I love this mug. And it was appropriate because it takes a leap of faith, and that's one of the things we do to strengthen our intuition. So let's talk more about it. How to strengthen your intuition. The first thing you have to do is trust it. You literally have to set that intention with yourself and say, self, I'm learning to train my intuition. I want to build a relationship with you. Please help me to trust you. And you actually have to move forward with that. It's one thing for your intuition to say something to you, but if you don't trust it, and if you're not, moving forward with that gut instinct, what it's saying to you, it's going to be really hard to really develop that relationship and be able to rely on it time and time again. So trust is very, very important. And start really small. This doesn't have to be a big thing right away. Start with like food. I think I've said this a couple times here in the lives, but do you want chicken or do you want beef for dinner? And use your intuition. Don't logic it out. Don't logic like, oh, we have more chicken than beef, or the chicken's thawed. That's the logic stuff. Go with the gut. Or decisions about what you'd like to do. Do you want to go for a walk or do you want to watch Netflix? Again, use your intuition. So that way you can tune into and build that trusting relationship between you and your body so that you know what it sounds like. Number 2 is practice. This takes time. If you are someone that has trapped away your intuition for a lot of years, or you have learned to, you don't rely on it, you don't even think about it, this is going to take practice. You're going to have to keep at it time and time and time again. So keep that in mind. But make the commitment to trust and then practice, even with small decisions. Whatever you can do. Do I want to use pen or do I want to use pencil? It doesn't matter what it is. Pick something and commit to it and practice it daily. And treat this is a kind of a good visual. Treat this as like tuning into a radio station. You remember back in the day when we didn't just press a button and the radio station was there and you had to use a little dial. I'm probably aging myself, but that's okay. Consider it like tuning in. You're going to get that buzz. It's going to be staticky for a while. Oh, our dog is back. But you want to tune in and really dial into that intuition, right? And the more you do it, the less thinking you have to do and more you can rely on the gut. Number 3, take the leap. Your ego mind, know this, your ego mind is always going to tell you a fear-based story. The ego will tell you a fear-based story, your intuition will tell you a heart-based story. So rely on the intuition, take the leap, have faith, put your commitment towards it, and try not to fall back on following your thoughts, because the thoughts are always going to tell you a fear story. Number 4, create a mindfulness practice. Like I told you earlier, you will naturally increase your ability to be mindful because you need to tune in to be able to dial into that radio station, right? So without being mindful, it's hard to develop or know when your intuition is speaking to you. So this can be anytime: washing your hands, doing your hair, blow drying your hair, doing your laundry. Be mindful, listen into your body. Number 5 is dreaming. Dreams have a huge ability to send you intuitive messages and things that you need to know. So if you are a person that has really vivid dreams, start keeping a dream journal beside your bed, and when you wake up, no matter how random it seems, write those things down, come back to it later, use your intuition to determine what the message is, because dreams are very powerful. And if you are someone that dreams, and I know a lot of people do, a couple of my clients do, if you can capture what it is that dream is trying to tell you by using your intuition, not only are you practicing, you're trusting the process, and you're committing as well, which is fabulous. And number 6, follow your excitement. If something is lighting you up, that is your intuition telling you it was made for you, and do it. If you are excited about something, like today, how I was super excited to talk about intuition and I babbled on for 31 minutes, which is way longer than I'd like to babble on for, but this is what we get sometimes. Follow your excitement. If you're thrilled to go somewhere and you have an offer to go on a bike ride and you're super excited about it, follow it, because that's your intuition telling you it's meant for you. Do the things that light you up, that you're excited about, that make you jazzed. I wrote jazzed, literally. And if you don't feel that way, don't do it. Or if you feel icky about something, avoid it. Number 7, don't think so much. And I know this is going to be hard to do because a lot of us have busy minds. It's easier said than done, quite literally. But if there is a decision you're wanting to make and you're practicing intuition, again, go back to that weighing the odds, logic versus intuition. Weigh them against each other and see what we're getting. But try not to rely so much on the thinking mind, because again, it's going to tell you a fear-based story, and it's going to keep you in a loop as opposed to in a spiral. If you did not see my post on that, it's here in the group. It's a really great visual to show you what it looks like when we follow our intuition versus when we follow the ego mind or the fear-based stories. Number 8 is be intentional. Set an intention around building a relationship with your intuition. Literally say it. Speak it into the universe and be intentional about practicing and committing and setting up success for yourself. Now, these are just some of the ways that you can strengthen it. It's going to be, use your intuition. Use your intuition to intuit how to strengthen or build a relationship with your intuition. How many times do you think I've said that during this live? 9 million times, I'm sure. Yes, be intentional, have fun with it, experiment with it, and tap into it, because it is a gift. It is a gift, I promise you. And I want to take a couple minutes to answer a couple questions that were actually within the group, and then we will sign off for the day. I know this has been a little bit long. I'd like to say I'm sorry, but I'm not. What can I say? So the first question we have from Shannon, which is, why do we ignore our intuition about something, do the opposite, and then think, I should have followed it? Shannon, this boils down to trust. This is all this boils down to, is that you haven't learned yet, or you're working towards trusting your intuition, where you've relied on in the past more your thinking brain, your thinking mind, trying to logic things out or analyzing things. What you need to work on is building trust, because then, you know, when you get the intuitive ping, you're like, no, I'm not doing X, I'm going to do Y. My intuition's telling me, and you can actually rely on it. So it's all about building trust. That's why we do that, because we haven't created the foundation of trust to feel good about or rely on our intuition. Another question came from Nettie is, why does my intuition always seem to turn out right? Like I know what is already coming. So the reason this is happening for you, Nettie, is because you have had practice, lots of practice, like the story you shared in the group about your dad, and that, that being a really important ping that you got, that there was something wrong with your father, and it was true. You have been practicing and relying on your intuition for the majority of your life. So you don't have doubt. You've had reinforcement to know that you can rely on that gut instinct. So that is why when it comes to your instincts or your intuition, you are right there and ready to make the decision. and you don't think twice about it. So those are the answers to some of the questions. If you have any other questions for me, please, please, please reach out to me. If you are curious about working on and strengthening your intuition, I do this a lot with my clients. Please reach out to me. This is work I love to do with the women I currently work with, is having them rely and build trust with their intuition so that they can make better decisions for themselves and they can have trust. So please reach out to me. Follow your intuition this week. Let me know how it's going. And as always, it's such a pleasure being here. It's such a pleasure speaking to all of you. And I will see you next Wednesday for Transformational Tidbits, and next Friday, who knows what we'll talk about. I'm going to intuit it. I'll see you later, my friends. Have a great weekend. Bye.